Hello, this is Tamara coming to you again from throughtheeyesofdepression.org. I also have a YouTube channel. Please consider subscribing at Breakthrough with Tamara. Today I want to talk to you about a very tough and heavy topic, suicide. As I mentioned earlier, suicide will be the #1 cause of death by the year 2020. So a lot of people wonder why someone would kill themselves. So before I talk about that, I want you to know I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm someone who has suffered from depression for most of my adult life, and I just wanted to talk to you about what I believe the reasons are that someone would commit suicide. The reality is, mental illness and depression causes you to be in a dark space and a dark place. And so someone who is contemplating suicide really feels helpless and hopeless, and they believe that there is nothing more for them in this world. When they're actually contemplating hanging themselves, shooting themselves, going into the car and keeping the engine on, all of those types of ways that people commit suicide, they're not thinking about their loved ones. They're only thinking about their pain. And the pain that they feel is so insurmountable that they feel the only way that they can escape is to end their life. And that is why it's very important that someone who suffers from mental illness or depression has something that will keep them going. And so what I have is giving up is never an option. And that basically means that no matter how dark it gets, how hard it is, that taking your life is never an option. Please do not blame yourself for someone who commits suicide. It was not about you. It was all about them. They wanted to end their pain. They saw a way out, an escape from their pain by ending their life. They didn't think about how guilty you would feel still being alive. They didn't think about how hard it would be for you to go on without them. They didn't think about how difficult it would be to see your empty room, to see your clothes, to smell the way you smelled, to just think about all the memories and the good times that you've had with this person. They didn't think about that. It is not your fault, and there is absolutely no way that you could have been with them 24 hours a day. There may have been some warning signs, and there may not have been. Remember, depression and mental illness stems from a stigma, so they don't talk about it. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to feel sorry for them. And people who suffer from depression feel as though, even though it isn't true, that they are a burden to their family and friends because they always feel down, or they always feel like just this feeling of despair, and they're just not happy. It is not your fault. There's probably nothing you could have done if at that particular moment in time they didn't feel like the next day they would feel better, or next week. They didn't know how you would stay awake at night praying for them. They weren't thinking about that at all. All they were thinking about was, I cannot continue this way. I cannot keep going. School can be brutal. There are a lot of children who are taking their lives due to bullying. There's children hanging themselves at the age of 8 and 9 because they were bullied or ridiculed at school. And schools aren't always doing something about it. So you need to know, as a parent, a caregiver, whether or not your child is being bullied. And you have to be talking to them, seeing warning signs, finding out whether or not someone is bothering them and bullying them and making fun of them at school. You should be checking in with their teachers, because oftentimes it comes out that someone was bullied, but it was too late because they already killed themselves. So please, I don't want this to be a message where you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to check my children every second of the day. I don't want you to feel that way, but we do not do mental health checks of our children or our loved ones enough because we simply don't think about it. Well, now we need to start thinking about it, because by the year 2020, and I can't say it enough, suicide will be the #1 cause of death. So I'm going to ask you, have you performed a mental health check of your child today? Do you know who their friends are? Do you know if they're being bullied? Do you know whether they're having a girlfriend or boyfriend problem and they're feeling down because they've been rejected? And oftentimes when someone feels rejected by someone they perceive to love them, they feel like if this person doesn't love them anymore, that their life is not worth living. They don't have value in their own life. But we all have value, we know that. But in that deep, darkest moment, that's when it happens. So just remember, continue to do a mental health check of the ones that you love. Make sure that you know what's going on with them, who they're hanging out with, know whether or not they seem to be despondent. They're talking about giving away their belongings. They just seem disinterested in sports or activities that they were usually interested in. Those are all signs that something is going on. We simply cannot be too busy to check on our loved ones, because God forbid, if something were to happen, it would be very sad, and I don't want that happen to you or to your family. So please, go to my website, throughtheeyesofdepression.org, and read through the over 300 posts that are there all about depression and dealing with mental illness. There is help out there. There's a National Alliance on Mental Health, which is NAMI.org. There are suicide hotlines, there's counselors, there's social workers, there's people who care and want to help. So please, don't let it be too late. Do a mental health check of your child today. Signing off through theeyesofdepression.org, Tamara Trotter. Take care and keep the faith.